Welcome to this video. Thanks for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness. I just wanted to go into a little bit of flow, kind of see where this goes. I like to just kind of tune in and see what wordplay comes through, or see what the guides have to share, or the higher vibrational collective frequencies that we all have access to. I just share it in my own style. So I would do some toning, but I feel like this gets canceled out whenever I do the toning. So we'll see how this goes. I better check that out. I'll wait and do that next time. And so as we tune into the breath, we may find ourselves holding our breath. We may finding ourselves being out of breath. We may find it difficult to breathe at times, for we feel as if we are being constricted. We feel as if space is being constricted. We feel as if our space is being constricted. We feel as if our energy is being encroached upon. Maybe that's true for some of us, eh? So we would invite those who feel that way to stop and take a moment to really sit in the center, to get centered, to center within, to sit with this and breathe into the center, the heart center, the center of the body, and feel the breath centering the body. For during these times of confusion, for some, it creates a flurry of energy that others are picking up on, and you may be one of those that is either part of the flurry of energy or feeling the flurry of energy, or perhaps at times both. For we all oscillate in and out of frequencies when we are holding our breath, when we are not doing our best to give each other the breath to be. That's a play on words, like, anyways, I think you guys get that, right? We find ourselves moving into a space of confusion when we have a lack of unison within. So we are being invited to become unified with ourselves. We are beginning to feel that if we are not in unison with our breath, with our sense of, I'm hearing centerness, stability, sense of who we are, sense of our ability to be present with ourselves, to be present with how we are moving in our everyday lives, when we are not giving ourselves time for contemplation, inner contemplation, and therefore collaboration with ourselves, we find a lacking. We find ourselves feeling as if we are lacking in whatever that may be, that we are feeling ourselves lacking from, or lacking. I'm just hearing a lot of play on words here. So we invite everyone to tune back into the oneness of self. And we will use this as an opportunity, this channel and this moment in which we are sharing in this way. For we, the collective of Carrie, feels into this frequency. And in this, I channel into my center. We channel through this center unification with a myriad of messages that can then be accessed because of this unification with self, with this higher frequency that is available as we interweave and connect into the sacred center of our own divine union, of our own ability to feel unified within ourselves. So this is so important for during these difficult times, or seemingly difficult times, or times that seem difficult, playing with all of this. We can get lost in the shuffle, lost in translation, lost in our flurry of energy. So we must invite ourselves to continually come back to the center of gravity, although that's a play on words because we're really not coming back to the center of gravity. We're coming back into our own magnetism. We're coming back into our own electrical, I'm just seeing like an electrical wiring that allows us to kind of adapt and feel more, feel fuller is what I'm hearing, like more full, the fullness of the breath, the feelingness of the breath, the fullness of the moment in that movement of the breath in and out. We've done videos on this before. I've done videos on this before, and it's so important. Like, there's a lot going on, you guys, in the collective, in case you haven't noticed. So part of what I'm seeing is that it's even more important to really be able to tune in and feel and so that would be the main message. Tune in and feel. For many are still disengaged. Many are disengaged and unable to then gauge what is going on with them emotionally, mentally, physically. Because of all of this, it is creating this flurry of activity that we speak of. Much activity and less ability to be, less moment to moment inner reflection that gives us the ability to see through the flurry of energy that is being accessed, spread out, brought up, remembered, tapped into, or accessed again. So I'm seeing like there's a lot going on. And yet we are able, we are more than capable to upgrade, if you will, to hold ourselves accountable to a higher grade, a higher gradient, a higher radiance of energy. And so we do this through finding our center of gravity. We use the word gravity, for gravity is easily thought of in the English language as something that keeps us something together. It is something that keeps us in a space of stillness, we might say. Or basically what I'm being shown is a lot of people think of gravity as holding us down, but part of what they're showing me is that it's not about holding us down or holding us back. It's that we're feeling this intense energy. A lot of us are feeling this, or we're experiencing some things, and it's creating this it's creating a lot of stuff, I guess. Inability to access higher realms, and inability to understand what's happening in our world. We are in this flurry of thoughts that are spinning us out, and we're being held in captivity by us feeling like we're stuck. But simultaneously, because of all of this energy, it's actually gifting us with the ability to move. I'm hearing that song, right? Gravity won't stop us now. Like, it's giving us the ability to work through that gravitational pull of, I'm hearing, false reality. And it's allowing us to dip into the breath is what's allowing us to do this. Movement is what's allowing us. So movement is actually giving us the ability to be still. And through movement of dance, tai chi, qigong, yoga, exercise, that can sometimes stimulate what I'm hearing are not only the muscles in the body, the fascia, but also it's stimulating our senses. It's stimulating the chemicals in our body. It's allowing us to feel less overly stimulated and work through some of this energetic, I'm going back to flurry and confusion. Also, what I'm seeing is for those who are overly active, it's time to come back into stillness. So sometimes we find stillness through movement. So I find stillness sometimes through doing yoga. I meditate in movement, moving meditation, right? But there's others that are overly active and they're being called to find stillness in stillness. And just by maybe laying on the grass, doing basic things that require us to sit and just be in that space. But what they're showing me is no matter what activity or inactivity you use, you're still moving because of the breath. And I'll have to go back and find that other video that I did on this. So the breath is still moving the body. It's moving through the lungs. It's creating oxygen. It's bringing oxygen right into the brain and through the blood. We need this breath. And so what I'm hearing, I'm being called to play with that. Knead the breath, like kneading dough. So we're massaging this breath, this oxygen, right? Molecules through our body. And my guides are basically saying, think of that as a body necessity, but a body massage. Like, think of it as a gift that we're gifting ourselves to feel more into the body, into I'm hearing gift for ourselves and gift for our cells. So there's something to this, like, just play with this a little bit. When we are in a state of frustration, confusion, excitation, in stressful situations, we are being called to recognize it. And the first thing, oftentimes, when we recognize this, that we do is doing this throughout the day will help us stop and say, I am aware. I am breathing. I am feeling. And those simple 3 I am statements can help us get out of or move away from or recognize what we are not. For example, I am not anger. I may feel anger, but that is not what I am. So on and so forth. If we can do this from a place of neutrality, it offers us the gift of expandability, the ability to expand into more knowingness of where we are going by tuning into what we are feeling now, what we are processing now, what we are integrating now, and how our thought patterns are adding up energetically throughout the day. Are they depleting us in some way, or are they adding to our sense of whatever sense that is? By the way, I'm being called to play with this. So it could be they're adding to our sense of frustration, whatever we're thinking about, or they're adding to our sense of feeling more expansive. And so by acknowledging that, we can break the pattern. We can break up this cycle of thought patterns and rewire through contemplation how it is we are responding to the situation. And so this is, I'm hearing, needed very much right now. Again, back to dough, value, dough, making bread. Like, I'm hearing breaking bread. Like, so there's a lot of plays on words I could go here. We are slowing this down in this particular presentation. For as much as the word play would be fun to play with, I'm hearing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, play dough, knead the dough. I'm hearing so much. We also recognize that in this particular message, a pattern might be recognized in the word play. again, play on words, like a pattern is recognized in play, the word play, play, right? We recognize that pattern, or we might recognize in how I'm presenting this. But this particular chapter or piece of this particular book or writing of energy that I'm sharing in this way is meant to be shared with simplicity. For the simplistic, the simpler things in life, the simplicities are what is needed now in order to create more simplified systems, to break free of the old. I'm hearing combative. This has been a word that's been coming up. Argumentative, lower frequency, energetically depleting, unharmonious frequencies that many of us had been born into, that many of us had been programmed, or we programmed ourselves into. We allowed ourselves to be programmed into. There's so many different ways of playing with it, but basically the old system is not where we are being called to play, yet it is difficult at times to adapt and change at the rate that many of us are already adapting and changing at. And so there is a lag time oftentimes in how we feel because of the energetic components that are currently at work. So that has a lot to do with so much. Just you name it, what's going on in the collective, what's going on with the sun, what's going on with our planets, the changes that are happening in our lives, our bodies that are changing. A lot of us are changing relationships, jobs. We have, things going on in our lives that are causing us to feel stress. Well, or stressful things are happening in our lives that are causing us to feel a certain way, or what is happening in our lives we are perceiving as stressful. We are feeling it, the emotions that are attached to these particular life experiences. And that's part of us being a human. Of course, we're going to feel these emotions. Of course, we're going to feel the stress or what we are interpreting as stress, because stress is pressure, right? So we're feeling that pressure. And sometimes the simplest thing we can do to help ourselves is to breathe. I mean, really, it is. If I had $1 for every time I have mentioned to my clients to breathe, either while they're working out, meditating, doing energy work, in sessions, it's amazing. You'd think it'd just be well, it is a natural thing. It's not like we're not breathing. Clearly, you wouldn't be watching this if you weren't breathing. However, well, this planet and dimension, but recognizing that it takes more, I'm hearing it takes more than just the, okay, let's play with this. It's the basic substance in life, oxygen. It takes more than just looking at it. It takes more than just, like, they're just saying the more we do it, the better, because of the stressful components that we are in our airwaves, that we are feeling. Okay, I think I made my point. So we slow it down in this particular message to invite you to slow it down. And while we have suggested to exercise a physical activity, we invite you to consider this activity from a different perspective. And at times it is good to go and run, to sweat, to process deep emotions, to go for a spin, if you will. Yet, we are being invited to also try new things, step out of the box. And this will allow the body to get out of the same cycles and patterns that it has been deeply embedded in for, I'm hearing eons. Maybe not this body in this lifetime, but the human vessel, the human body. Many of us have been conditioned or have been conditioning ourselves with the same activities, the same foods. I have been going through something myself to try to rebalance. The same television shows, the same types of books. So we're really being invited to kind of try something a little different than what we've been doing before, even if what we've been doing has always worked for us. I think a lot of people are finding what they've been doing for whatever reason isn't working anymore. And I've had people say, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong, or I would venture to say, and sometimes I can intuitively feel, oh, well, you just need more vitamin C. Or, oh, well, you haven't been doing this, and that's why this happened. But overall, what the message that's coming through in this particular presentation is that because we're so used to being in those patterns, we're in a process of adaptation. That's the word that keeps getting used over and over again. But this is also causing us to rewire or cut the old wires and then send new transmitters through so that new signals can be accessed and realized. And so if we're constantly in that same thing, taking the same path to work every day, going for that jog every day, it's good to have a routine to a certain extent. But what I'm hearing is it's time to break the cycles. So if we want to break the cycle, we need to get out of a routine once in a while and see things from a different perspective, from a different angle. We need to feel differently. And that may require us to change, I'm hearing change our vocabulary. So if we do something different, for example, we're going to learn different words. We're going to use a different language because I've never, and I'm going to give it for instance, when I was in yoga, yoga was it, right? Then I became a Pilates instructor and the yogis were like, you're going to do Pilates? Shame. And then when I went to Pilates, I learned that it was so different than yoga. And I couldn't quite, my brain couldn't quite, like, well, this is basically yoga. Pilates is basically copying yoga on equipment. And this is what I'm just saying in the beginning of what I learned. And then I was like, well, doesn't matter. I learned new words to describe how the body moved. I learned, and they complemented each other. So it didn't have to be one or the other. Now I had both in my toolbox, and I understood things differently than I did through yoga and vice versa. So I'm really being called to just use that as an example. Even energy work, we might believe that Reiki is it, and it might really work for you, but it might be good to try something. And I say quantum healing, but I'm a quantum healer. We all are quantum healers to a certain extent. What I do, I consider a form of quantum healing because it's working into the quantum. But no matter what we do, we're working into the quantum. But I'm just giving that as, for instance, try something that has a little different flavor so that we can, A, see it from that perspective and change our view, how we feel. It might be a little bit of, we may want less stimulation. We might want more stimulation. So these are all things to kind of play with, is what I'm being called to share. So that's the message. Getting out of our routine from time to time, accessing different activities to access different parts of the brain. I'm hearing to actively increase brain function, to actively increase our function in how we function, our functionalities, and how we function within this reality, and how we function in the new reality that is already here now. As we merge realities and we access these realities, it becomes more realistic for us to play with these realities in a less dualistic and more harmonious pattern, which allows us to break the old pattern and the old cycles. And then we are able to spin in, out of, and into this new web that we are weaving, that we are already part of, that has been woven in the fabric of our awareness, that we are already aware of. And it makes us more aware of what it is that we are leaving behind, yet we are, I'm seeing that we're seeing it behind us, yet we're threading through the bits, the information that we still can use. And so I could keep going with this wordplay, but in love and light, guys, namaste. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for sharing these videos. And you guys, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of everyone that's kind of been on this ride over the last few years on this YouTube channel. So thank you to everyone, and I appreciate you. Namaste.